Welcome to Tourism Unfiltered, where we investigate the impact of social media on modern-day tourism. The final episode of the series, Where Do We Go From Here?, will be finding the common ground between our highlighted cities and looking ahead to the future of the media's developing relationship with tourism. When looking across Paris, Barcelona, and Venice, there is variety within the immediate action taken against over-tourism. In Paris, a lot of the response is at the discretion of individual businesses, while Venice has taken a local government approach, and Barcelona has very outspoken protests and resistance groups. However, there are organizations, including Afro-Iberica Tours and Unexpected Italy, devoted to creating a more authentic and local experience in all of these cities through providing in-depth histories and connecting tourists with community members. These organizations also tend to not follow the traditional rules of social media advertising, focusing more on longer-form content centered around personal stories and informational content. The main barrier with these organizations is that since they are location-specific, tourists have the responsibility to research these types of groups with every destination they visit. I do want to mention a company called Context Travel that currently operates in 80-plus cities around the world, offering organized tours and experiences led by local experts and cater to the personal interests of tourists. Context operates in all of the cities featured on the podcast, and its Instagram pages filled with travel recommendations and fun facts has reached over 30,000 followers. This does bring up the question, though, of whether a company operating in 80 different locations has the ability to accurately reflect all of the history and culture within these places. In addition, a lot of these tours surround the hidden histories in already popular tourist sites, like the Eiffel Tower and the Notre Dame, so they don't necessarily deal with the reduction of overcrowding in concentrated areas. It seems within the tourist industry's subcategory of authentic traveling experiences, there is a difference between the locally run businesses focusing on a concentrated area and companies that are trying to spread these practices globally. It makes sense to prioritize supporting these local organizations when possible, as their research tends to be more specialized and they are often inclusive of marginalized groups in the presentations of history and culture. However, the process of seeking out and utilizing these organizations can't be done until tourists take the first step towards more socially conscious traveling by recognizing the problem of over-tourism itself. Over-tourism does need to be acknowledged by tourists as an issue that is currently affecting the local communities of travel destinations. Social media has evidently shaped this issue, but the future of its influence remains unknown as artificial intelligence becomes further integrated into the realm of media. AI chat tools like ChatGPT and Gemini, which are built to provide quick and efficient answers, can be used to design sample travel itineraries for tourists based on their requests. Out of curiosity for the types of suggestions AI can provide, I did a small experiment asking ChatGPT for sample 3-day itineraries in Paris, Barcelona, and Venice. Here were some of the suggestions that I was given.
Paris, head to the Louvre Museum. Spend hours and prioritize the Mona Lisa and Venus de Milo. Use the pyramid entrance early or the carousel entrance to avoid lines. Head to Montmartre and visit the Sacré-Cœur for free to see great views, then stop at La Maison Rose or La Consulate for photos. Barcelona. Book tickets in advance for Sagrada Familia, allow 1.52 hours, and climb the tower for great views. Wander the narrow medieval streets in the Gothic Quarter, which is great for photos. Venice. Start at Piazza San Marco in the morning before the crowds. Enjoy a gondola ride or a less expensive traghetto ride for the gondola experience.
What I find to be the most interesting about the ChatGPT responses is how they seem to be aware of overcrowding in popular tourist areas and provide tips on how to avoid lines and crowds. That being said, a lot of the suggestions include commentary about where to get the best photos, even though I only asked for a general itinerary. And there is no indication that the person requesting for the itinerary cares strongly about taking photos as part of their travels. AI seems to replicate what already exists on the internet, so it would make sense that these suggestions take into account both social media postings regarding these cities as well as articles and information related to overcrowding. ChatGPT can also delve further when it comes to responding to more personalized prompts. I was able to end up with more specified sample itineraries, like a Paris trip for Emily and Paris lovers, a food lovers trip around Barcelona, and even a trip to Venice that centers around ethical travel and supporting local businesses. In a bizarre way, AI can produce resources that cater to both traditional and conscious tourism at the same time, making its impact quite contradictory. With all this in mind, it makes sense for AI to be included as part of future studies on social media and tourism, since it acts as an extension of ideas presented by social media and continues to have a growing presence in daily life. The future of tourism might lie in the hands of the media, but it is ultimately tourists who make the final decision on their travel itineraries. I hope that this podcast has helped you reconsider how traveling affects local communities and inspired you to practice conscious tourism through exploring beyond the picture-perfect popular tourist sites on social media to achieve a more in-depth engagement with a destination's culture and history. Thank you so much for following along with the Tourism Unfiltered podcast series. I am so grateful for you all for listening to the podcast and following along with me on this journey of discovering tourism in the age of social media. Wishing you all luck on your future traveling journeys. Goodbye!